know that all of the plastic that we've disposed of till date has actually now started entering back into our lives, and not just through water and air and land, but it's actually now become part of our bodies. We found them in babies, we found it in lungs, in fetus, in breast milk, in umbilical cord, in blood. It's found literally in most human body parts. It's all going to come back and impact every human in the way it is already impacting us. Every single thing that we have, even the food that we eat, right, is not without this environmental cost. One way to break the cycle is by refusing things. You can repurpose things that you can buy less of, reduce, borrow, share, or repair. The longer you keep something out of the landfill, the better it is. The world has enough for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed. Talking to someone very recently, they said, love people, use things, and not vice versa, right? So don't love things and use people. And that's what minimalism teaches you. Okay, now that we've explored and understood what need, want, and waste is, let's look at where does this come from, right? What's its connection with the environment? And I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of this, but just to reiterate, need is something that we require, that fulfills whatever consumption patterns we have. And in order to do that, we buy something. The problem with today's economy is that when we buy something like that, we're actually using it and then we're just disposing it, and we know it all ends up in, can you name where does all the waste ends up? Landfills. Yeah. Where else? Oceans, dump yards. Exactly. All of our waste is going to end up either in land, in water, or in some form, if it gets burnt, then in the air. So that's what's going to happen to it. Today, we don't have enough circular economy models where, we will reuse that material in creating more material, ensuring that it doesn't end up impacting the environment. And that's why minimalism is connected with all buying something, using it till we need it, dumping it, and disposing it in a way where it ends up in one part of the environment, and then it comes back to bite us, right? So, quick question on that. Do you know that all of the plastic that we've disposed of till date has actually now started entering back into our lives, and not just through water and air and land, but it's actually now become part of our bodies. So do you know what all human body parts have we found plastics in? Yeah, microplastics, brains, yes. Where else have we found microplastics or nanoplastics? We found them in babies, we found it in lungs, in fetus, in breast milk, in umbilical cord, in blood. It's found literally in most human body parts. So we thought that we're disposing this and it's going to go away, but it's actually now come back into our own bodies and it's impacting our own health. So if we thought that, this is outside us, living a minimalistic life is, oh no, it's not really that cool and it's not going to impact me, it doesn't make a difference to me, I have the money, I can buy whatever I want to. Well, not really. It is going to come back and bite every one of us, irrespective what caste, color, creed, background, socioeconomic space, or privilege that we come from. It's all going to come back and impact every human in the way it is already impacting us, right? So we need to be very, very mindful of that as well, that it's just not about the planet, but our health as well, right? And all of these things that we purchase, of course, have an environmental cost, as I shared. When you buy a pair of jeans or a smartphone, very simply, we're extracting resources, as someone had mentioned earlier. We're using water, we're releasing carbon emissions, we're creating waste. So there is a massive environmental cost of every single thing that we have. Even the food that we eat, right, is not without this environmental cost. Vasant has asked a question actually. Can you tell me if smoking is a need or a requirement or a want or waste? Why don't you answer that for us actually? Right? Because this is very, very individual choice that we're making. And everyone actually on the call answer this for Vasant. Do you think smoking is a need, a want, or a waste? Okay, we have one response that says waste. A lot of people, in fact, have now started saying it's waste, right? So that it's waste, it should be easier to let go of. Okay. Yeah, it's not good for the environment. I absolutely agree and concur with that, right? So just as smoking is not great, there are a lot of other things that are not great for the environment and take a long time to decompose or get disposed of, right? So how many years do you think a coffee cup takes for completely vanishing or disintegrating and becoming part of the soil? How many years do you think it takes? Okay, someone has said 10, 100, 30, 5 to 6 years, 100 years, more than 1,000 years. Let me reveal the answer. It's actually about 30 years, right? That's the amount of time a coffee cup, which is made up of paper, cardboard, and plastic, takes in terms of decomposing. A straw that we probably use for less than a minute when we're having a drink or coconut water, how many years do you think that takes to completely go off and get decomposed? Okay, someone says never. 30 years. Any other guesses? How many years does it take for a straw to decompose? 100? 100 years? Okay, let me reveal the answer. It's actually 200 years. A pair of jeans, how long do you think that takes? Manufacturing of jeans, by the way, takes 2,700 liters of water, one pair of jeans. And that's enough water for one person to survive in the whole year, including everything that you need water for. Right? So imagine every time we're making one pair of jeans, we're taking somebody else's 1 year of water away. About 100 years. Okay. Any other guesses on how long does it take for a pair of jeans to decompose and become part of the soil? And mind you, when I say it becomes part of the soil, it's not in a good way, right? It's just becoming micro in its form and it's just landing there. 100 years for complete decomposition, it's actually 250 years. And mind you, jeans are not even that old in terms of their creation and innovation. So if it's taking 250 years, it's a guess that we made. It's an estimate that a lot of people have made, but we don't know it might take even longer than that. A plastic bottle, regular plastic bottle, we all tend to buy this, drink it off in 10 minutes and then dump it. 50. Okay. Any other guesses? How long does it take? 200. Have the answer on the screen. That's the amount of time plastic bottles take to completely decompose and become part of the soil. And again, like I said, it's not great. Do plastics ever decompose? Not really. And especially if you're hearing about bioplastics or plastics made up of bio-based materials, even those today currently are not 100% compostable, right? So it's not like they will vanish completely. They also contain some form of polymer or chemicals that help stick it together, and that's not great for the environment. We haven't innovated enough yet, but of course there's a lot of research going on in that area. Toothbrush, something that we think, oh, it's spoiled, let me just dump it. All the toothbrushes that have ever been formed in the world are still lying around on this very planet. So how long do you think it takes for a toothbrush? Yeah, that's the amount of time a toothbrush takes to completely go off. And the last one, you all have seen this kind of packaging in which our food comes, right? Made up of thermocol, plastics in some format. Styrofoam is another word used for it. How many years do you think that takes for completely going away? Okay, someone has said styrofoam about 1,000 years, right? So it says 500 years. That's the correct answer for now. But you're right. It could be 1,000 years depending on material, and we don't know. This is all guesstimates that scientists have made, that this is the amount of time it will take for all of these different forms of plastics will take to completely go off, break down, and become part of the soil in some way. So what's the option? How do we break this cycle, right? Very simply, there's a concept of circular economy that says that the one way to break the cycle is by refusing things. Whatever you don't need, you know that it's a want and you know it will create waste later, refuse it. Say an absolute no to it. Things that you think you can reuse or repurpose, use them for other things again and again. And in India, we're actually quite good with this, right? If we have that one t-shirt that has gotten spoiled, we'll do something else with it. We'll use it as a rag. Till the time it does not completely die off, we don't throw it away, which is great. And which is why we need to maximize the life of any product that we buy. Reduce or buy less or buy better, right? So instead of buying 5 t-shirts made out of polyester, maybe buy that one t-shirt that's more expensive, but made up of fair trade 100% cotton or hemp or linen, which will last you longer, which will be far better and is also good for the environment and your own skin. Borrow and share things, repair, right? All of you agreed to having a repair kit. That's really helpful. And can you, in that case, name a few items that you can very easily refuse, things that you think you can repurpose, things that you can buy less of, reduce, borrow, share, or repair? Let's hear from everybody on this call. What are some things that you can do to be part of the circular economy system? I love the fact that someone has also said return, right? Things that you don't need, you return. However, you need to be very mindful of this as well, right? While it's a great thing that whatever is unnecessary for you, you can give it back, especially plastic packaging, right? But you have to be careful as to when you return something, is it going to be disposed of rightfully by whomever you're returning it to? So if they're not going to do that, then you are leaving waste, but you're leaving waste behind with somebody else, right? So do be very careful of that as well. Okay, things that you can repair: bags, shoes, clothes you can reuse, refuse single use straws, any kind of single use plastic, cutlery, containers, packages. Yeah, what are the other things that you can repair? Very simply, if you can tell me some things that you can repair, things that are lying around, in fact, around you, that someone has said, oh, ye to kharab ho gaya hai, this is spoiled, dump it, buy a new one, you'll get it cheaper. But you're choosing not to, you're holding on to it, right? You're hoarding it because you think it needs repair. Mixer, heater, mobile, washing machine, television. Yeah, if these things are repairable, please find someone to do it. You have a lot of apps, in fact, now that send people home to fix these things, right? Urban Company being one of them. Electrical appliances, shoes. Cobblers still exist in India. We're one of the few countries who have these services where you can actually take your shoes, take your bags, and get them fixed. So please do that instead of dumping and thinking, oh, I can get a cheaper bag for 500 rupees. So why should I make the effort of getting this repaired? The longer you keep something out of the landfill, the better it is. Anything which is made up of leather material can be fixed. Buckets, umbrellas. Yeah, any guy who fixes your bags can also fix your umbrella. Brilliant. So there are a lot of things that you can very easily repair, right? Trolleys, bags, again, wonderful. Things that you can refuse. I know someone mentioned single-use cutlery, straws. Are there other things that you can absolutely refuse? Clothes can be repaired as well. Yes. Yeah, please find an alteration person or tailor who will fix it, and expand the life of your clothes for as long as you can. Plastic items, any kind of plastic items are easy to refuse, right? They're also not good for your health. Now we know that it's become part of our own bodies when we're eating food out of those things. Saying no to them is far better. Poly bags, yes, the easiest thing we can say no to. And one of my favorite things to say no to is actually tissues. I carry a handkerchief everywhere I go, or a napkin. I haven't used a tissue, I don't know in how many years now. So yeah, saying no to tissues is super, super easy. Someone's also mentioned this, right? Tissue paper can be replaced with handkerchiefs. Yeah, very easy to refuse. So there are ways of doing this very easily. One last question. What are some things that you can borrow or share? And the reason I'm asking this is because we used to have this culture in India, right? Where we would borrow things, we would share things. I have worn clothes of my elder cousins. Even today, I wear a lot of, things that my mother has given to me. I borrow from her and I wear those because they fit, or I get them altered. But we've sort of started shying away from doing this in India, and we think, oh, it's not cool to be asking things from other people. It is very, very nice to do that, right? We can have shared resources. And someone has actually said marriage clothes, books, utensils, tools. If we start refusing everywhere, people around me would start thinking I have become crazy. I'm called out crazy, Shubham, but I think a lot of people have now around me gotten influenced as well, and they're very careful that when they're out at a restaurant, they will not buy a plastic bottle because they know I'm sitting on the table and they will have to drink water out of a regular glass. So yeah, you might think that you might be called out crazy, but anything for the planet and for the betterment of humanity. Books, copies to be reused. Yes, you can also borrow plant cuttings, kitchen utensils, garden vegetables, and fruits. There are a lot of things that you can borrow. One system that now actually exists is borrowing cars, which we do through Uber, Rapido, Ola, etc. Right? So if you don't own a vehicle of your own, like I don't, then you're actually using a shared pool of resources by borrowing from somebody else because you don't have to own it. Even things like Airbnb, you're borrowing someone else's real estate to use. So in larger scheme of things, there are a lot of options out there. You don't have to own everything and you can borrow those, right? Libraries, for that matter, at one point were a great space to borrow books. And that culture has sort of died down as well. So if you have one, please try helping revive libraries, because I think it's a great way to continue sharing things and leading a minimalist life. So you don't have that kind of bookshelf that you saw at the beginning. Even furniture in Furlenco, right? You can rent that. Yeah, Rento Mojo, Furlenco, that's great. You can actually do that, do carpooling. So there are ways of sharing things as well. And two quick hacks, right? One of them I've already mentioned is about buying things of quality over quantity. So next time you're buying something, see how long it's going to last. Where has it come from? Where is it sourced from? Is it fair trade? Has somebody been paid well for it? Because when you buy something cheap, someone else is paying the price of it, right? So when you buy a cheap t-shirt, somebody else is actually taking the cost of it. And another hack is to leave something behind in your cart. A lot of times this happens where we do impulsive buys, right? We look at something and we think, oh, I need to buy this. My simple hack to this that I tell people, and I off quick commerce especially, is that if you want to buy something on e-commerce, put it in your cart, leave it there for at least 2 weeks. And if you don't come back to it in 2 weeks, that means it was a want, which would have eventually become a waste. If it is a need, then you will come back to it maybe and say, okay, I waited 2 weeks. I haven't found this anywhere else. I haven't been able to borrow it from somebody. If I had something similar, I have not been able to repair it for whatever reasons. And now it's become a need, so I have to buy it. But for 2 weeks, leave it in your cart. If you don't come back to it, more often than not, you will not require it, right? And now we know other ways of getting it: sharing it, refusing it, repairing things, borrowing things, right? So those are ways of doing this. Now, someone has shared an idea of hand me down and use toys for kids. I think we all have done that at some point. We have games that our cousins lent us or friends lent us after they were done playing, just as for books. In fact, there are a lot of websites now from which you can buy this, right? There is Weedle, there is Second Life Toys. You can actually go to these websites, buy toys, buy stuff. I recently gifted a friend of mine who had a baby very recently toys, soft cuddly toys from one of these websites because I didn't want to buy new. And they make sure that they dry clean it, it's absolutely safe, and they send it at the right address. And it's of course saving me money and helping me save the planet. So there are a lot of options out there. So the next time you're buying something, please look out for a second-hand or a thrift website. There are Instagram pages as well. I buy all of my clothes thrifted now. And there are a lot of thrift stores physically as well as online that you can buy things from, right? Like Pre-Love Co, Love Me Twice. So there are a bunch of these stores that you can go to and buy things. So all my clothes are thrifted. They're either borrowed, taken from people in my family, or they're from one of these online stores or physical stores that I've been to. Yeah, so there are ways of doing this. These are hacks that you can use. Now, I want you to quickly reflect on one thing. I want you to think, and you don't have to answer this in the chat box if you don't want to, right? What is it that you have enough of? What is it that you want less of in your life today? What do you want to spend more time on? And the next time, what are things that you won't buy? Yeah, someone has suggested not buying vegetables from malls or supermarkets where they're often weighed and packed in plastic bags. Instead, buy it from a local vendor, bring home in a cloth bag. Absolutely brilliant idea, right? You can just refuse packaging by doing something as simple as that. Mitra has mentioned that she wants to spend more time in nature and in living life. Some things you want to spend more time on, some things you will not buy the next time around, or things that you think you have enough of. I don't need this anymore. Like for me, very honestly, I think I have enough stationery to last me a lifetime. And for the last decade or so of my life, I haven't bought stationery. It's just randomly shown up, and I have whatever I have used, whatever has been extra. I have said no at conferences as well and said, sorry, please don't give this to me, especially calendars and diaries, right? And random gifts that a lot of conferences give you, which you don't require. So I've started saying a no to that. I take the photograph with it and then I say, sorry, but I'm not going to take this because this is just going to add clutter to my life. Enough of books being a teacher. Yeah, you have too many of those. Then I'm glad you're saying a no to them. Clothes, definitely. Yeah, what are other things that you can absolutely not buy off or you think you have enough of? Yeah, I agree. Why not use ink pens? That's what I've moved to. I've in fact moved to something called as a friction pen, which you can write with and then wipe off later because you don't need all of those things. And a lot of times I don't even need those, right? Because I don't allow technology to control me, but I have notes on my laptop or whatever I require. And once it's done, those are also deleted to reduce the digital clutter. Avoid ordering food online because it's unhealthy and comes in unnecessary packaging. Have enough of crockery, less of slippers, spend more time with grandkids, nephews, and nieces, won't buy imitation jewelry. Okay, wonderful. Awesome. So we all have some of these things, right? I want you to take a screenshot of this if you can and keep this something that you will think about at some point today when you're sitting alone so that you know that these are things that will help you lead a better, a more fulfilling and a minimalistic life, right? If you have enough of certain things, instead of buying more, let it go. See what are some things that you don't want around you anymore and that are causing you, stress in multiple forms that some of you shared. What are some things you want less of now, right? So somebody had mentioned earlier, less of commitments, less of work, spending more time with family, traveling more of relationships. So that's something that you want more of versus less of, other possessions. And one things that you don't need to buy or you will say no to the next time you have to buy them. And this is another challenge that I want to leave behind people with, right? So I shared at the beginning of the session that this is plastic free July. And we do want people to use less of plastic this month or actually say no to plastic. I'm doing a 30-day challenge currently. I anyways have less of plastic, but whatever little is also entering my house this month, I'm working on ensuring none of it comes, right? So for those in Hyderabad, there are zero waste stores like Eco, Adrish, I just ordered all of my groceries yesterday from Eco, and they all came without plastic packaging. So this is Plastic Free July. Here are some things that would be really helpful for you that you could do, and this could also help you build, a decluttered life, a clutter-free July, and most importantly, a minimalistic life, right? So no impulse purchases, carry a reusable bottle and a bag. We know that's a need now. Repair one item. A lot of you mentioned items that are lying around unrepaired. Please find folks to repair those. Buy a second-hand item when possible and if needed. If you don't need it, please don't even buy secondhand, right? That's also causing clutter. A lot of times we end up buying things also because we think, oh, I need this, let me get this, because it is secondhand. Not necessary. If you don't really need it, it's a want. Please don't buy secondhand also. It's not required. Right? Declutter by donating useful items. I think someone had mentioned this as a question earlier that, I want to donate, but they take only things that are useful. Something that's not useful for you is also not useful for other people, right? So, for example, if you're going to end up giving children's clothes at an old age home, they don't require that. So, when you are donating, you also have to be mindful that what is necessary and needed by the other person who's taking your donation. You might be doing it with great intention and good feeling, but if it's going to add to waste for them, which means eventually it is waste, it is just not going out and getting disposed in front of your eyes, doesn't mean that it's not causing clutter, right? So that is why donating the right thing to the right people is also important. Yeah, please don't give away torn clothes, spoiled clothes. If you're not willing to wear them, I'm pretty sure that no one else is willing to wear them either. They then need to be sent for recycling, and there are organizations like Respun that take clothes for recycling, right? You can create a box with all the clothes properly washed, put in, and send it to them if you think that they're not wearable for somebody else, right? Please have a no shopping day every week. A certain day where you will not order even from a quick commerce app like Blinkit or a Zepto, right? Or from an Amazon or a Flipkart. So an absolute no shopping day, that's the day you will not purchase anything. Give yourself a break of 24 hours every week. Borrow instead of buying at least once, right? So next time you need something, see if somebody in your circle has it and you can borrow from them instead of buying. Like I said, for cutlery and things like that, for events, you can go to Bartan Banks. There are quite a few of those. For decorations, there are a lot of, again, apps and websites from whom you can get, use, and return. Someone mentioned about renting things, right? So you could do that. That's also a form of borrowing. Plan meals to reduce waste. I'm sure all of us in Indian homes do that. We want to create least amount of waste. Unsubscribe from any kind of marketing that encourages you to buy stuff, right? So when you go to an IKEA or you sign up on an Amazon, you will keep getting these pop ads of big billion day sales, etc., etc. Please unsubscribe from those, right? Those are triggers for you to buy more. And because we know that we can afford to, we end up buying a lot of things unnecessary. And of course, avoid and encourage discourage unnecessary purchases. So I'm going to end the session before we move into the Q&A with two very specific thoughts. One of them is a very hardcore favorite thought, that Gandhiji shared. The world has enough for everyone's need, but not everyone's greed, right? How many of you agree to that? Yeah, yes, agree 100%, right? Absolutely. There is enough. In fact, unfortunately, every year there is now a concept of Earth Overshoot Day. This is the day where we have used all the possible resources that we can for that year. Last year, on 5th of September, we had finished using all the resources in India that we should have used till 31st December, right? So for those 3, 4 extra months, whatever resources we were using for extracting and manufacturing things, we were actually eating into the next year's resources. The earth does not replenish that quickly. So do read about the Earth Overshoot Day and you'll realize how quickly we are finishing and depleting our resources. And that's why the world has enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed, right? Not for our wants and especially not for our waste. And the last quote, which I heard, when I was talking to someone very recently, they said, love people, use things, and not vice versa, right? So don't love things and use people. And that's what minimalism teaches you. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for being such an engaging audience. And I'll hand it back to Trishant to take us through the Q&A.